Hey guys! Happy Sunday! And welcome to the Killjoy Guide, the Left Feminist podcast for the 99%. I'm your host, Killjoy Meg, and today I'm being joined by my FHL co-host, James Fauntleroy. What up, JB? Mm-hmm. You're still muted, buddy. He's driving. He's driving into silence.
Oops, sorry.
What up, JB? What up, JB?
I'm on the Killjoy guy, and I'm on the Killjoy guy. Come on.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes. Oh, yeah, Radical Leftist Agenda. You are just in time. We're about to have a fun episode. I'm so glad to have you here with JB. Like, we have some really fun conversations to have tonight.
Yeah, we do.
And I wanted everyone to look just above JB's head. I have an awesome new logo designed by our good friend Robin.
Mm-hmm.
It is awesome.
Like an
First
idea.
step of a redesign. Hey, Matt. Good to see you, buddy. We're getting all of our regs in here.
Mm-hmm.
So, how are you doing today, JB?
I'm all right. Okay, so full disclosure, before I had my stream with Rob earlier today, I decided to have some pancakes. That was a bad idea.
Oh, bad pancakes?
Yeah. No, it's just I got the itis. I was trying to fall asleep before I went on live. So, yeah, I was.
Fun.
Oh yeah, I was sleepy. Ooh,
That's not fun.
I was hella sleepy. Yeah.
I can imagine.
But I had to splash my face. You know, like Queen said in the song, "Show must go on."
Show must go on.
Alright. Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
hey,
I like Queen.
socialist.
I don't care who knows it.
Who doesn't love Queen?
Freddie Mercury forever. Alright?
Yes. Who doesn't love Queen? I mean, come on. Everybody loves Queen.
Everybody does, yes.
Yeah. Alright, so let's start with our first story of the day. So, as we've all been talking about all week, I think almost everyone on FHL has touched this in some way. And that's that Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez decided to go to a little party.
Madam
30,000
Alexandria. Yeah, she went to a party. She went to a little shindig for the rich people. For the rich and wealthy.
Yes, the rich and wealthy. $30,000 a ticket to this
only
shindig.
3,000 is a cheap affair, apparently.
Alright, so let's bring this up real quick. So this is from AOC's Instagram. So she says that she was proud to work with Aurora James as a sustainably focused black woman immigrant designer who went from starting her dream of the Brother Velas, which is her fashion line, at a flea market in Brooklyn, to winning the CFDA against all odds, and then work together to kick open the doors at the Met, which I guess was their whole point, is that they were trying to make a statement at the Met, where this working class girl was gonna knock down the doors of the Met with tax the rich emblazoned all over her backside. And yeah, that's the statement she was trying to make. Your initial thoughts, JB?
Many people have heard my
How did you feel about it whenever you initially saw this?
All the world is a stage. You deserve the award for the role that you played.
Take a bow.
So it was a performance.
Mm-hmm.
It was a performance like any other time. This time, it wasn't a tweet, it was a dress. It was a
Mm-hmm.
performance. Like, and so many people, they go, oh, but, you know, she was bold. She went in there, to a room full of rich people with a dress that said tax the rich. And it's like, I feel like it's almost like when people get mocked, but they don't know they're being mocked. That's
Yeah.
actually what it would look like. It was basically like it was like, look, I'm wearing a dress saying tax the rich, and then all the rich people are like, ah, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, yeah, great, because they're never gonna happen, right? And so basically, that's what it was. And even if she didn't mean it to be that way, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of it, the people who are outside that were actually protesting.
Yeah, and that's something else I wanted to bring up too, because I don't know that a lot of people have. I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of people talking about this. But I don't know how many people have actually talked about the event that you're talking about. So let me bring that up. Continue going on while I bring up that tweet.
Mhm. Sure. And so while they were outside literally protesting and saying that people don't care about us, then you literally had the police protecting the rich as they always do. And so they were out there getting their heads bashed in, and people were coming to AOC and talking about, so are you a model? Have you done modeling before? Completely devoid of the substance of the conversation that her dress was supposed to be making a statement of. It was supposed to be, why did you choose tax the rich? Why does this have to be such an important statement here at the Met Gala? What type of policies would you implement in order to tax the rich? None of that was
Mm-hmm.
brought up
Of
at
course
all
not.
because they
Because
didn't
why
want
would
to.
they? They don't give
No,
a shit.
no, they don't care about taxing the rich on entertainment.
No.
No, they don't talk about. Look, even if Joan Rivers was still alive and she was asking, "Who are you wearing?" then that would be the end of the conversation. She would actually probably talk about, "Well, I hope you're not going to tax me,"
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty much the end of it. There would not be a substantive conversation about actually taxing the rich, which is a medium point in what we really want to do anyway. Like
Mm-hmm.
tax the rich, no, seize the means of production over here, right?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's bring up that tweet I was mentioning. So this is what I tweeted earlier on in the week. So
Okay.
inside the Met Gala, AOC was wearing her tax the rich dress. Outside, you had police busting heads of these protesters who were outside trying to talk about, the fact that we're all struggling out here. And did AOC mention a single thing about this protest? A single thing. I didn't hear anything from her, did you?
Absolutely not.
If you do not cooperate and accompany the arrested, since you have used to leave the roadway, you will be placed on the police department. You are unlawfully in the roadway. Since you have used to leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest on charge of disorderly conduct. If you do not cooperate and accompany the arrested, since you have used to leave the roadway, you will be placed on the police department. You are unlawfully in the roadway. Since you have used to leave.
I mean, that's just insane. That is honestly craziness. And just to read off what this tweet says. So NYPD made multiple brutal arrests outside the Met Gala a few minutes ago. Fired the mall protesters, took to the streets outside of the Met Gala, and cops then brought in the Strategic Response Group to crack down on the protesters. Protesters chanted the name of Mike Rosado. At one point earlier today, outside the Met Gala, NYPD cops dragged Fire the Mall protesters off the sidewalk and threw them to the ground to arrest them. Protesters demanded the firing of multiple dirty NYPD cops, justice for Mike Rosado, and defunding NYPD investing in communities, which I haven't even heard of Mike Rosado. Did we have another police shooting in New York that I didn't hear about?
Yeah. There's There's so many of them now that it's hard to keep up.
Right.
Yeah. Basically, it's just rules for thee, but not for me. Um, and so, uh,
So this was happening outside at the Met Gala as AOC was in there performing her little stunt.
mhm, yeah. I like what Matthew Lermer says. He says, if this dress didn't open the shit lib's eyes, nothing will. The dichotomy of the gala and the protests outside should influence everyone. And that's true. I mean, it should open their eyes. But unfortunately, and I hate to be the pessimistic one, Matthew, but it won't. And that's the reality of the situation. It should, but it doesn't.
Yeah. And thank you, Matt, for the super chat. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And so one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this story was, I haven't talked about it really yet besides, that tweet. And, we talk often about whether or not AOC is in the squad, whether or not they're sellouts or not.
yeah.
And we talk about that a lot. And I don't like calling anyone a sellout because I don't think that's necessarily what it is.
Yeah. I got
Rather than selling out, I think that they're buying in.
you. Mm.
And not only just buying in AOC's case, I would say leaning in.
Okay.
In the Sheryl Sandberg kind of way. She's leaning into her position of power and
Hmm.
leaning into the fact that she can, get these special favors and be able to go to events like the Met Gala.
Hmm.
And like I'm just like, she went there with good intentions, and that's the thing. And that's the case. I feel like whenever particularly women go into these roles and these positions of power into Fortune 500 companies, they go with these intentions of I'll be the one to change the system from
Yeah.
within.
Yeah.
And I've said multiple times that in order to rise the ranks of power in companies and in government and in these institutions of power, in order to rise up those ranks, you have to really let go of a lot of those principles and lean into
Yeah.
the patriarchal values and the capitalist values in order to gain more power. And the more power that you gain, like you become corrupted because that power feels good and you'll do anything at that time to
Yeah.
keep power.
Yeah.
And I do that feel like, in that Sheryl Sandberg way, she's very much leaning into that power. And I feel like this is another very clear example of that. Not only going to the Met Gala, but also the way that she's talking about this designer. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm bringing attention to this designer because, she's a the sustainable black immigrant designer. And so let me draw attention to her and to her business. And so it's a very liberal form of feminism, of, supporting women. You know?
Yeah. Funny thing is that I don't even know the name of the designer. All I know is the dress. So much for paying
Yeah.
attention. Um, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
So what is that really? And people will say, well, that gave attention. Gave attention to what?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like saying um, Doritos are delicious or some BS like that. Um, you have a huge amount of people already agreeing with you that we need to tax the
Mm-hmm.
rich. Even some
Right.
rich people are they. Even some rich people, they may feign saying it, but they even believe that some of us should be taxed. I mean, ask Abigail Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if she would have had like a cab, or if she would have had um abolish the police or something like that on her dress, and she wasn't at the Met Gala, but she was actually out there with the protesters, that would have been a huge, strong statement. But attending something where the people you who are supposedly your adversaries they're feeling so comfortable to let you in. Come on now. People
Yeah.
know that's a little sus. That's a little sus. At least. Yeah.
Right. And I know I saw some things online even criticizing her possibly have by going to the Met Gala. This may have been an ethics violation. I'm not entirely sure if that is true or
Yeah.
not. I
Yeah.
guess we'll come to see.
It was a $30,000 gift.
Yeah.
It was a $30,000 gift.
Yeah.
Not to mention the price of the dress. So I don't know how
Yeah.
much the dress cost. But if
Yeah.
she still has that dress, then yeah, that's part of it as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, it could be an ethics
Yeah.
violation.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
just
hopefully
be,
she paid for the dress.
yeah, and just because
Mm-hmm.
a a conservative watchdog group called it
Mm-hmm.
out doesn't mean that they're wrong. A broken clock can be right twice a day. So yeah,
Yeah.
so if she had did an ethics violation, then that's bad for her as well.
Right. And there's also a lot of criticism about the designer of the dress, as we were kind of mentioning. I was just displaying a comment about it that the designer reportedly runs a sweatshop, and by that meaning she has a lot of unpaid interns that she basically exploits and has working full-time jobs, and she owes thousands in taxes. Although one of the which you can make definite criticisms about, especially considering the irony is that if she is, working with a designer that exploits her workers, but then she's using that designer to make a dress that says tax the rich. It's like that. There's so much irony in that statement. I mean, granted, I think that the point that the designer is from Canada, I feel like that's kind of a non-issue. I mean, hello, I'm Canadian. Like, I think that's a non-issue. I mean, she's still technically an immigrant, but I mean, yeah, she's definitely representing her as not a Canadian immigrant, but definitely someone who's of the working class or came as like a dreamer or something, which I think is a misrepresentation of that designer.
I know.
And
I'm sorry. Because here's the thing. When you think immigrant, you don't think Canadian. I'm sorry.
it's true.
It's just like, and the thing is that what is what is actually implied when you say immigrant? This person has come from a less privileged country over to the United States to make the dream. To if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere. And the thing is, they're like, "Where'd you come from, Toronto?" It's like, it's like a bait and switch kind of. It's like
Right.
you came
At
from
least I
one
came
first
from
world
rural
country
Canada.
to another first world country. It's like, do we really, poo poo and woo 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 immigrants from France or Germany, or if they come from, the UK? We don't really, not really. And so it's kind of like it's implied that, oh, she's a poor immigrant. Sorry, from Canada. I'm just like,
Which, I mean,
okay.
apparently the area where she's from is pretty well off. Like, at least the area where I'm from, it's a rural area. It's like a little college town in Nova Scotia. And both my parents are nurses. My dad lost his job. He had to come here by himself for 8 months, while my mom was left behind raising 4 kids. So, I mean, granted, again, my experience is still much more privileged compared to others, and I will gladly call that out. And I am a big advocate for immigrants and making the immigration process easier. Like, I don't know how much I'm hearing from Miss Aurora James here about the immigration process.
Yeah.
So,
Like, yeah, and so my thing is, I mean, the ultimate point is, that AOC tried to dress it up as much as she possibly could because she knew that she was going to get basically eviscerated over it beforehand. She knew, so she had to try to dress it up in a very liberal way, just so that people won't be like, so that she can kind of quell some of the talk. But let's be real. it's not a good look for her to have went to that thing. And even
No.
if uh elected officials regularly get invited, she could have been the first one to say no and made a statement that way. But she
Exactly.
didn't. Yeah.
That's true. And I think that's a really good point, in that I think that definitely highlights, the fact that she is really leaning into that
Hmm.
power.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's a
And
couple
I like
words.
the way you said lean into,
Hmm.
because there's a lot of people that leaned into that. And what we're learning now is that we shouldn't necessarily lean into it, because if we lean into it, then that means that we're going to allow ourselves to drift, further
Hmm.
and further away from, what who we were in the first place and what our objective was. Remember, this was the same young woman that did a sit-in,
Hmm.
um,
Which she,
for.
which, let's be realistic, she wasn't even involved in the sit-in. She visited the protesters
Hmm.
who were sitting at this, the Sunrise protesters who were sitting in front of Nancy Pelosi's office. She showed up and she was like congratulating them. She was not involved in the protest.
Oh well, never mind. Screw me. I just I was giving her more credit than even what she was due.
Right?
Okay, okay, yeah. Um, well, that just ruined my. It's like the hell with that,
Hmm.
But still, I mean, think about that she knew that she was going to get that type of attention.
Yeah.
And look, let's go back a few weeks. CNN did a fluff piece on her.
Hmm. Which I
When the
covered briefly on another stream. Yep.
Yeah, when you are when you are someone who is being celebrated by the oppressive class, there's something wrong.
Hmm.
And some people, it's just not registering yet. And they're like, well, we have somebody who actually tacitly agrees with us on everything. And it's like, yes, she agrees with us on some things. But if that were the case, then you would see it in her actions. But if you
Hmm.
don't see it in their actions, does it mean that they actually agree with you? Because she's just playing the game, isn't it, she?
Yeah. Here's actually a good question from Socialist Alternative, who asks, Crystal Ball is a millionaire. How should we view that? And look, I'm not opposed to millionaires necessarily. Like, billionaires, absolutely. And millionaires, definitely to a certain extent. But, when we have people who are millionaires who are at least allied with us in their belief that we need to change the system,
Hmm.
I do tend to think of Crystal as more of a class trader, though. I mean, she's never showing, but only to a certain extent do I consider her that way. Because I
Hmm.
mean, you don't see her out in the streets with us, like
Hmm.
a Susan Sarandon. Like, Susan
Hmm.
Sarandon is an ally. She's a
Hmm.
millionaire, but she's out there in the streets with us.
Yeah.
Crystal Ball, I consider her an ally only up to a certain point, because she does bring attention to a lot of these issues, and she has a way of framing these issues that I think is very valuable, but she's not out in the streets with us. So in that respect, I don't consider her that much of an ally, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Can I answer this as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I don't care if somebody's a millionaire. I only care about how they got their millions.
That's a good point.
If they got it in a way where they, didn't exploit people to get it, then okay, yeah, sure. All right, cool. You have your $1 million, cool. Also, what are you doing for the people so that they won't be exploited and they won't be, um, you know, uh, disrespected as far as their economic standing? Are you really doing what you can for people who are less advantaged than you? As far as Crystal Ball is concerned, she is doing a rightward shift as we speak. and so therefore it's making me look at her with a side eye now, because it's like, wait a minute, you were actually sounding hella more progressive when you were with the Hill, and now that you've gone independent and you got a little bit more cash in your pocket, now you're starting to grift a little bit more, or drift a little bit more, I should say. So that's, you know, that's my take on it. So I mean, Crystal Ball, she has some self correction to do,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. And so her and Kyle actually have some self correcting to do. Kyle's suits are
Yeah.
looking a little bit more nicer these days as well. And I think part
Mm-hmm.
of the issue with money is that you start to drift a little bit more, um, than you typically would, and
Yeah.
it does play a factor.
Yeah, and I like this point too from James Root. AOC could have worn the dress and stood outside with the protesters if she really wanted to make a statement. And I think that's an excellent point as well. It's like, you know what? I got invited to this thing. I showed up, but I'm not gonna go inside. I'm just gonna let them waste their $30,000. I'm gonna hang out here with these protesters and bring attention to them. And
Hmm.
that really would have showed that she was an ally, I feel like. I feel like, and I almost feel that I probably would have been more angry if she just showed up in a white dress without having her statement. I don't know which makes me more angry, the fact that she showed up with the dress with the tax surge on it, or if I would have been more angry if she just showed up in a pretty white dress.
Let me ask you this. How would you feel if she actually fought the way she said that she would, and then
Hmm.
she showed up there with a tax to dress? How would you feel?
Then I probably would have seen her, making a statement, but again, like I haven't seen her doing any of those things, as you said. So I think in if we were really to think of it that way, if she was actually doing the job that she says she was going to do, it might come off differently.
Hmm. Yeah.
But again, but seeing as she hasn't done any of that, this definitely seems much more performative.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Oh,
know,
this is a good point. Yeah, good point from Quaker Socialist. AOC using immigrant is classic liberal manipulation of leftist issues for neoliberal purposes. A good point.
mhm. Yeah, they're using immigrant the same way they used black back in the day.
Yeah.
That's what liberals did. They, just replace immigrant with black, and they do the exact same thing because we're basically a political currency for them. We're a prop, and it's like, oh, look what I'm doing for all the black people. Oh, look what I'm doing for the immigrants. Look,
Mm-hmm.
can't you see that, see that? And then next thing you know, after the election's over, all right, piss off, and then that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another good point from Whipple Weedle Puffin. It'd be different if she, meaning Aurora James, the designer, were I'm probably gonna say this wrong, Tlingit native from British Columbia. And again, I kind of agree with that. If she were, from any type if she were an indigenous person, if she were from, a rural area that was, because there are rural areas and there is racism in Canada. Like I know in Nova Scotia, having being from Nova Scotia, there are big racial discrepancies even among like the Mi'kmaq Indian tribe that's in Nova Scotia. There's a big fishing battle that was happening last year over lobstering, and it is really big in the fishing industry. So I would definitely, if it was someone like a Micmac Indian or something like that, I would feel so much more compassion toward it. But since she's, from a well-off, neighborhood in Toronto, you know, I'm like, okay, cool, I guess. I mean, technically, she is an immigrant, but come on.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying, I want to, give. Uh, it's like me, it's like being a movie producer and going, I wanted to make this movie, and I just wanted to give, a black man, a chance at making a great movie and getting the attention. and then that black man that made that movie was Tyler Perry. It's just like, come on now. The billionaire, Tyler Perry?
Right.
Like, you didn't really try.
Right.
You know? It's like you made it seem like you were trying, but you didn't really try, It's like you could have got somebody else who was way less known and who had a lot less money.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a couple more, let me see, a couple more comments, and then, let me see. They should not be allowed to not vote or play like they're Switzerland when it comes down to doing their job. I agree with that. They should absolutely, like, no saying, no, not, don't vote present. Do not vote present. Especially on a bill that gives money to Capitol Police.
Present.
Like, oh my god. That made me so angry. Oh my god. But Ashura, if you are going to vote tomorrow, vote NDP or vote Green. Don't vote for the Liberals or the Conservatives. But I mean, I completely understand why you don't want to vote.
Oh my gosh. Like, what were you thinking? Present? Like you were it's like somebody saying, I'm going to write a letter of complaint. Oh, please, no, don't stop. Don't, whatever you do, don't do it.
You're like the Willy Wonka meme, like, no, stop, come back.
Yeah. That's what really present was. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be very vehemently against this. Yeah. And when it comes to voting, it's like, present.
Right.
It's like, come on.
Present equals maybe the plebes won't notice. Oh, but the plebes noticed.
Oh, we
noticed.
Oh, we noticed hard. We saw that. It's just it's just like, and you come to the point where people will say, well, you guys go on or off on them so much. It's like, because they're not doing their job. That's why. Come on. And then people are like, well, they've been doing good stuff. Like what? Giving more money to the Israeli military so they can bash Palestinians' heads in? Like what? Like, come on. Let's be real. Let's look at the reality. Look, actions speak louder than words. Apply that to politicians, please. Stop enabling them. It's silly. Play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, darling.
Exactly. 100%, my friend. Alright, so let's move on to another story. So this one I think is going to get you a little heated.
Oh.
Because I know it got me heated. Like, this headline disgusted me. So, let me bring this up. This is an article that I saw from ProPublica. I saw it on Twitter, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So, I couldn't believe just how corrupt our child support system is. Because that's what this is about. Alright, so. Oh, I didn't realize I was still on the bottom. So, this headline made me cringe. These single moms are forced to choose, reveal their sexual histories or forfeit welfare.
What? Whoa. What?
Let me get into it. Women who apply for welfare often have to identify who fathered their children and when they got pregnant, among other deeply personal details. State governments use that information to pursue child support from the dads and then pocket the money. So let's get into it a little bit. So just initial thoughts just from the title, JB. Then we can get into the actual article.
Hold up. Number one. I got to read this title again. Hold up. In my own head. These single moms are forced to choose, reveal their sexual histories, or forfeit welfare. And so what? Okay, so just because you were, and I like to use the phrase sexually liberal, then that means that you get punished? for that.
Okay, so here's the crux of the story. Let's go into what it's talking about. So it's covering
Okay.
this woman. It starts off with this woman, Amberly Sanchez. She has a job as an accountant in New Mexico. She lost everything in a fire during the pandemic. And she and her 16-month-old daughter had to move into a $400 a week motel. She lost everything, her crib, her baby clothes, toy cars, even her own mother's ashes.
Oh.
Okay? So she applied for welfare, and this is what they said. That she thought, they would, try to help her find a job or whatever. But this is what happened. They asked her, who is the baby's father? And that you can't get public assistance if you don't name the child's father. Okay? So let's get into why here. So she says that in July, a form arrived in the mail notifying Sanchez that if she wanted a small amount of aid, $357. So let's stop there for 1 second. $357 a month in aid? It said that she lost everything and that her hotel bill was $400 a week. And they're only going to give her $357 a month? What? To help, like, what? To help pay her motel bill and replace her possessions. If her bill is $400 a week, and she has no possessions, how exactly do you expect $357 a month to cover those expenses? That is insane. Insane. So, but in order to get that small amount of aid, she needed to provide her baby daddy's current and former addresses, his employer's address, his vehicle's make, model, year, color, and license plate number, the state where it was registered, his bank account number, any real estate or other assets he might have, the address of his mother, father, and other relatives and friends. She also was asked to provide, under penalty of perjury, the date she believed she got pregnant and why she believed that to be the correct date.
Okay.
And this is all in accordance with the 1996 Welfare Reform Law. So TANF. Temporary assistance to, let me make sure I have it correct. It's TANF. It's temporary assistance. Why am I not getting it completely right? Oh my gosh. I know it. They had it here too. Oh yeah. Temporary assistance for needy families. So TANF, which is the bill that replaced the welfare system that was there previously. So go ahead. Tell me your initial thoughts so far.
Okay. So, first of all, this is number one. This is I smell I smell conservatives in this one. I definitely do. And this is number one, a violation of body autonomy. Um, One of the things that this is also is a means to go after poor men of color so that they can arrest them and put them in prison. Now, one of the commenters in the chat said that fathers should pay child support. Yes, they should. They should. But also, what if those men can barely take care of themselves? What do we do then?
Right.
There are some men that they just don't have the means to do so because the system has bogged them down too.
Right.
So are we going to punish them for they as men being in poverty? See, here's the thing. A lot of times they will try, and this is mostly aimed at people of color, by the way.
Right.
Let's be real. Because the prison industrial complex also wants to get more people in it. We as a people should be willing, more than willing, to help somebody like her out because the fire happened and she should be able to get compensation fully for having a place to live. We should have funds set aside so that we can help her get, a home again and to replace
Mhm.
some of the things that are absolutely necessary. We may not be able to replace everything that's necessary, like or even a want, like say they had like a PS5 in the house and the PS5 got burned down. Well, we may not, be able to replace that, but we definitely will replace a home and make sure you get internet back and stuff like that. But
Right.
this whole
This,
thing, it,
yeah.
it just feels like uh going against body autonomy.
Right. This is a good point from James Root. I agree, but I'm guessing I agree that they should pay child support, but also what's the point of tossing them in jail when they can't pay it? What the fuck is the point of giving a person a criminal record for being broke? And that's exactly, I think, what JB is getting to here.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
James Root said it better than I could. Thank you, James. But
Hmm.
that's what
Hmm.
I how I feel, and I'm just like, look, this is kind of a circumventing way at coming after people that look like me.
Hmm. Yep.
And there's this thought that, oh, we are the problem because you guys keep just leaving your kids. It's like, are we leaving our kids or are we trying to do things to survive? And then the things that we do to survive are illegal. So you put us in prison and then we can't get out. And then you guys want to attack us for child support, even though there's no way for us to do it. Or even still, we get a job and we do what we're supposed to do, but then we can't afford it because we don't have a living wage in order to help take care of our kids.
Right. Exactly. And
So
this
they're
is,
attacking the
yeah,
symptom, not the problem.
exactly. And there was another one that I saw here from Mark. Yes, it was Bill Clinton that passed TANF. It
Yeah.
was. It was in 1996. But Mark Ponicki, sorry. I don't think they should pay child support. We should set up a nationwide fund for single parents to pull from instead of going after individuals for child support. It would be more effective that way. I don't think that's a bad idea.
I mean, why not just have
Hmm.
universal childcare?
Absolutely.
I mean,
100%.
I
Like
mean,
we are
look
the
at
only, yeah, we're the only industrialized country that doesn't have anything in place for impoverished children.
yeah,
We're the only
and
one.
look at I want a lot of you after this stream is over, go back to the interview with Dr. Richard Wolf where Jackie
Hmm.
and RJ were talking to him, and he reveals that in France, after you have a baby, the state will send a representative, a person, to your home to help you take care of your child for free, right? Paid by taxpayers to take care of your kid. Why don't we have that here? Oh, right. Right. Capitalism.
Personal responsibility,
But
Mhm.
I find it funny how they always want to talk about personal responsibility, but they never want to talk about community responsibility or societal
Mhm.
responsibility.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100% on that. Like, there's a reason that the phrase is, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes, an African proverb,
Right.
and that's very true. And look at how a lot of us were raised back in the day,
Hmm.
especially people who are a little bit older than me that were raised especially in the
Yeah.
60s and 70s. Look, you better not be caught doing something wrong in front of the neighbor's
Hmm.
house or the neighbor down the street's house because they will get at you too, just like your parents did.
Yeah.
And they had a close relationship with your parents, and you best not do anything wrong in that neighborhood. Because Mrs. Carruthers down the street or Mr. Johnson next door, if they see us, then guess what?
They'll
They'll be
whoop your
held to
ass
pay.
too. Yeah,
You know,
they'll whoop your ass too.
and we're not advocates for whooping anymore because
Yeah.
that's not the way we are. But of course, there will be consequences, for your actions, and that's the way it was, and they basically helped raise you. The whole neighborhood did, and we have to get back to that.
Yeah, this is also a good point. The child support issue is nuanced. Both parties should be responsible. Yeah, the issue. So one of the reasons I feel that they tend to expect the father to pay child support is very much because, and I'll get into that a little bit more when I get it further into the article there, because it makes a good point about that. And I do think that women should be partially responsible. However, one of the big reasons why child support has been historically doled out is because particularly women, they're often left out of the workforce. Because, especially if they can't afford childcare. Like, how are you supposed to go to work if you can't afford to have someone watch your child while you go to work? Like, that's something that even happened to a very good friend of mine. Her husband was in the military. And right after her son was born, he got shipped off to Kuwait. And so luckily she had a very supportive family who lived in the area, so they could watch her son while she was working. But it became very difficult for her to do that. So she ended up quitting her job to stay home with her son, and was living off of her husband's, what her husband got from the military, and also, like, WIC and things like that, because it was very difficult for her to be able to work and take care of her son. It was very difficult, especially in those first few months that he was born.
Yeah.
So...
There was a... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I was done.
There was a... there was a story about a woman who was working in a hotel, and she was living in a hotel and she was working, I think, at Burger King, and so she had nobody to watch her kids. She had nobody, and she literally had to let her oldest son, I think he was 10, watch their kids, and she had workers at the hotel come in every couple of hours to come and check on the children while she was gone at work. Somebody called CPS on them, and they took her kids away because she was trying to lift herself up by her bootstraps, but yet she's still... So it's damned if you do and it's damned if you don't. Because if you're a single parent, then either you have to stay home and you have no way for anybody to watch your kids, or you have to risk losing your children by going to work so you can provide for them. So the system is messed up. And this also happens to single fathers too, because we don't want to leave them out, single fathers, because I'm friends with a single dad. And it's hard for him to find a job because he has a kid that's only 4, and the kid's not in pre-K. So he has to try to get people to watch him so he can go to work.
Yeah. I like this, Danny. BAH. Basic Allowance for Housing.
Yeah. And
That's a good
somebody
point.
actually mentioned about the universal basic services as a proponent of MMT. A lot of them talk about universal basic services because this helps so that people get child care, they get food, they get housing, all these different things that's absolutely necessary. And maybe the parent could stay home until the child starts universal child care, and then they can finally start going back to work. But for now,
Yeah.
that person still matters, and they still need to have their child taken care of. And I don't care. And this goes into the whole argument where, people are like, "Oh, we need to cut poverty for children," and it's like, well, you can't cut poverty for children without cutting poverty for adults. Because if their parents are in poverty, that means they are in poverty. So we also need to tackle that as well.
Right, exactly. It's like, what help is it going to be to give people, a child tax credit?
Yeah.
How much is that actually going to help them? Not a
And what?
lot, especially the amount of money that it was. I mean, granted, when my mom had kids, since we were living in Canada, we actually got baby bonds. She got like $200 a month per child that she had, up to like a certain age. But I mean,
Can I ask you this, Meg?
yes.
How have you benefited from the child tax credit?
Well, let's see. I have no children, so none.
Me neither.
No.
Would it be nice if those of us who are childless, that
And are
are also
suffering.
yeah, that are also suffering. Would it be nice for us? Because I want the children to get the benefit, but I also want their parents and those of us without kids to also. Or what about those of us that we have adult children, but we're taking care of them at home because they may be disabled or they may have a mental disability that prevents them from
Hmm.
working or even being very coherent. What about them? How are they being taken care of?
Absolutely, I agree with that 100%. All right,
Hmm.
so going back to that article, let's go back to it.
Hmm.
Find out what more we can learn about this.
Hmm.
So again, this was all based on the 1996 TANF reform law, and is
Hmm.
intended to use such details to find the dad and force him to make child support payments, which much of which the state would then pocket as reimbursement for providing Sanchez with welfare. So let's be clear on this. This is not to pay child support to his kid. This is so they can get reimbursed from the dad the money that they gave Sanchez, that measly $357.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get child support for her kid, but that child support isn't going to her kid.
Yeah.
Imagine that for a second.
Yeah.
So she says that Sanchez had a very fragile co-parenting relationship with the child's father.
Hmm.
That, and she was very worried because, like, apparently he did have, was a, I guess he was a drug addict or something. I can't remember where exactly it says. Yeah. So he had a drug addiction, and he was only just beginning to have a relationship with their daughter. And so she was very afraid that if she were to call him out and, like, give his information, like, that they would suspend his driver's license. So that would make it impossible for him to go to work in order to make money, in order to pay the child support, for one. But then he'd no longer be able to visit his daughter, and it might cause him to relapse. So think about how sick that is. That she has to make this type of, cost benefit analysis. Like, okay, I need support, but they won't give me support unless I, out, give them her dad's information. But if I give her dad's information, that's going to negatively impact him and make it so he might not be able to give support that she's never going to receive.
Oh, they're
So,
counting on it.
yeah.
They're counting on it.
Like, this is what we talk about when we talk about those cycles of poverty. This is why it's so impossible for people to get out of poverty, and why so many generations of kids are, why there is that generational poverty. It's because
Yeah.
of shit like this.
Yes. Uh,
And
yeah. This is
yeah, go.
looking at the forest through the trees. This is an excuse to get that man in prison so that they can make more money off of him for
Mm-hmm.
legalized slavery. That's all it is. Look at it. Let's call a thing a thing. And the mom is just a prop to get him in prison. That's
Yes,
all it
thank you
is.
so much for saying that, because that's exactly another point that I wanted to make, is that this is just another example of our government using women, using the idea of, oh, we need to help women, we need to support women, we need to protect women. They're using women in order to create this type of violence. That's exactly what this is. They are using women to conduct violence, again, particularly against poor men of color especially. So this is so disgusting, and that goes into this next point of this paragraph. It's a practice with deep roots in U.S. history. Under bastardy laws of colonial times, a poor woman who gave birth out of wedlock could be jailed or publicly whipped until she named her baby's father, or until he came forward to shoulder the cost of raising their child, because the community didn't want to have to do it. This is all about that U.S. individualism and the fact that they didn't want the community to have to raise the child. And that is just so disturbing. Like, how do we not care more about each other?
Yeah.
That we would put women through this bullshit in order to harm, it's like for having sex and having a kid. And you wonder why, and then they wonder why, there are certain communities that have high abortion rates.
I mean, while we're at it, I mean, if we don't want to, continue to keep raising these kids, then we might as well also, evict them from the school system too. Because why should we have to teach their kids if they don't have, if their parents aren't there to educate them? Why should we pay for them? Oh, you know what? Why should
because it's community responsibility?
Yeah. Why should I pay my tax dollars? I mean, I don't have a car to drive, so why should I have to pay my tax dollars, to prepare the streets? Why should I have to pay my tax dollars, to some of you who, are getting subsidies for your businesses? Because I don't go to some of your businesses. Why should I have to pay my tax dollars to do this and that and all and the other thing, for all these different other services that we benefit from, or that we might benefit from, or we haven't benefited from yet because we just don't need it yet. But here's the thing. We live in a society, and therefore part of that living in society means that you contribute to society. But apparently we have to be individualistic in this aspect so that we don't take care of other people's kids. The thing is that, guess what? What the hell are orphanages for? Aren't we taking care of other people's kids? And yet we can do that.
Yeah. Let's not even talk about the dysfunction of the foster care system. Let's not even talk about the dysfunction of the foster care system.
Yeah. These kids, they have to be taken care of somehow. What, you want to put more kids into the system now? Instead of actually helping their parents to take care of their kid? So that they can stay at their home with their parents and have a better development instead of being stuck in the system? Is that what we're going to do now?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. People always want to they always want to tackle the symptoms, but they never want to tackle the solution of the problem. And here's the thing. Why aren't they together? Let's tackle that. Or why is it that the dad can't financially provide? What's going on with him? Okay, so he mentioned that he has a drug problem. So he has a disease that he needs to be treated for. Also, is he be able to make a livable wage? And just because he didn't go to college doesn't exempt you from getting a livable wage. I am sorry, but no, you should not have to have a college education to make it in the United States. If you can work, then you deserve a living wage, full stop. That's it. That's all. So, why isn't the father making a living wage? Why don't we have universal child care to take care of that baby? To give that mom a break. And then so she can also go to work and make a livable wage, as every woman should. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. This ProPublica article done pissed me off because now, you know me so
well. Oh, it's going to piss you off even more in a minute.
Oh, shit.
When you find out how much. Oh, my goodness. Because we're about to find out how much money. We're about to find out. So, this article goes on. Like, more than 2 centuries later, so here we are, a similar, if less violent, legal arrangement was included in that TANF law. The new law said that in order to get federal anti-poverty funding, states would be required to go after fathers of children whose mothers had applied for welfare in an attempt to get them to pay child support to the government as repayment for those welfare dollars. So here's how much. Let's find out. So for struggling mothers in New Mexico, a state that often ranks last in the U.S. in child poverty and well-being, this federal requirement means that they must either forego desperately needed assistance for their children or risk complicating what are already often fraught and sometimes abusive relationships with their children's fathers if they're even in contact with them. Okay? It also means that contrary to popular understanding of child support, that it is intended to go to children, more than $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion in child support was collected from fathers in 2020, was seized by federal and state governments as repayment for mothers and children having been on welfare. and this was according to a ProPublica analysis of the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement Statistics. Close to 3 million of the nation's poorest families have child support taken from them last year amid the pandemic for this reason. Can you imagine that for a second? 3 million of the nation's poorest families had child support taken from them last year during the pandemic. $1.7 billion in child support, instead of going to those children who were in need, was given to our federal government as repayment for welfare. That's money that those kids never saw. And they were, that was maybe, what was that amount again? $357 a month that Ms. Sanchez got from the government.
Yeah.
And they're getting $1.7 billion. That's insanity.
I mean, why not just cut the military budget? You can get that money back.
Right?
It's always about, they always, shit, y'all want that money back? Cut the police budgets.
Yeah, right.
Y'all want to talk about fiscal responsibility. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right, James. So the government takes the money from the dad to repay itself for basically loaning single moms money.
Yeah, it's a loan. It's not welfare. That's a loan.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's not welfare. It's not.
No. So basically, they don't care about families.
Nope.
Family first, my ass.
Look at those family values, JB. They're all about the family values.
You sure? You betcha.
Oh my goodness.
Stupid. And the thing is that, and then these are the same people that don't want to teach about sex education in schools. So then guess what? The kids get freaky, and then next thing you know, they end up getting pregnant at a very young age because they didn't know about sex. They weren't taught about it. And so then they want to blame, people who look like me, that, they're hypersexualized and they're savages. But yet here we are going, wait, teach them about sex and push contraception. Like, look, I know it's a controversial issue handing condoms out to 15, 16, 17-year-olds, but guess what? It's what works and it's what helps. Okay? So then even on top of that, you want to come after people even if they've had a child, that in their adult years, and you're going to come after them for maybe, just maybe, they fell on hard times. For all we know, she could have been a mom that was making 6 figures before, but then, she left her husband, she fell on hard times, and now she has a kid, and she's barely able to scrape by. And yet you're still going to basically shortchange her, a living income to get back on her feet because you want to go after the father so you can put his ass in prison so you can give more to the prison industrial complex? That's some sick shit. Like Donna Bell said, we have money for war, but we can't feed the poor. It's the, Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're absolutely right. As Sterling W. is saying here, I think it's ironic that the social programs the government makes always fail, and they put the burden on the citizens or the individuals to solve. It sounds like an extra tax. Because, we used to have a really good welfare system. We did. We used to have one. We used to have a welfare system, but then that got reformed, and now this is what we have.
Yeah, because they're talking about, we don't have enough money. The national debt is going up. Shut up. Y'all know about MMT, and y'all know that this money that is paying for welfare is just made out of thin air by the federal government, by the Fed. So guess what? You guys aren't losing anything. Plus, all the money that's at the national, I'm getting riled up right now. All the money that's on the debt clock is just all the money that's circulating within the United States. So that money out there is money that the government doesn't have back. But if the government wanted to, they can tax it all back. But guess what?
Hmm.
Nobody will have any money anymore, and then the economy will collapse. So therefore, guess what? That's all it is. And so you're talking about, oh well, we can't be helping out these people. But guess what? If you guys actually did more welfare, you guys would actually stimulate the economy. Who would have thought? Who would have
Hmm.
thought? Giving people money actually stimulates the economy. So guess what? If you give money to poor people,
They gotta spend it.
they're gonna spend it. Especially if they got kids. Guess what?
Hmm.
Guess what? The stocks in Similac are gonna shoot right straight up. So it's just, gosh, and they know this. They know this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, I was saying last week on my episode with Eleanor Goldfield that, women are put into an impossible situation because it's, especially poor women, because it's, damned if you do, damned if you don't when it comes to abortion.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you're damned if you do, because then you're, the baby killer. You're selfish for putting your needs in front of, or saying, like, I can't afford to have a kid. I can't bring a kid into my situation. There's no way for me to do that at this point. And not only to say that most women who do have abortions will either already have children or will have children in the future. But you're basically damned if you do, because you're then the baby killer. But you're damned if you don't, because then you're seen as a welfare queen. Because you can't afford to raise that kid. So now you're the welfare queen because you had a child that you couldn't afford to have. And even if you decided to put that kid up for adoption, you can't guarantee what kind of future that kid is going to have. So, again, women are damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I feel bad. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if men's body autonomy
Mm-hmm.
were, being as hotly debated as women's body autonomy, we wouldn't stand for that shit. We would not. Oh, try telling men that they can't masturbate anymore and see how the country will feel. Try
JB,
telling men,
you need to get a vasectomy, man. You gotta. It's for the women. You gotta get a vasectomy.
yeah, you're no longer to do that. Also, if you applied every single law that they put against women to men, it wouldn't stand for a day. It wouldn't stand for a day because men wouldn't be able to stand that. They'd be like, hell
No.
no, no, I'm gonna do
Mhm.
whatever I want with what I got.
Mhm.
And the thing is that it's like, so why are you dictating what women do with theirs?
Mhm. And it's all about control. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have my own views on
Mhm.
abortion, but I'm not a woman, so therefore, I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I don't have a vagina. I don't have a womb, so I'm
Mhm.
not going to dictate what it is. So, if I don't want to, if I don't want, and if I don't believe in abortions, I won't have one.
There you go. Yeah, that's exactly it. If you don't believe in abortion, don't have one.
Yeah,
Don't dictate what other women should do.
yeah.
Because you
I
don't know
mean,
their lives. You don't know what's
yeah,
going on in their lives.
yeah, you know. And thankfully for me, I'm gay. So, yeah, I can't have kids. I mean, I probably wouldn't mind adopting one day though, but that's a whole nother story.
Hmm.
But yeah, so um, yeah, an abortion is no one's business. That's it. That's
Hmm.
what the people need to demand immediately. It's 2021. I mean, look, that's you know, there's a separation between church and state.
Hmm.
And so if you're applying your religious beliefs when it comes to what the law secularly has said, then that means that you want to live in a theocracy, not a democracy. And
Exactly.
if you want to live in a theocracy, I suggest Saudi Arabia.
Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah, I can't argue with that. But so, all right. So, I think that we can kind of leave that story there. But I mean, if this really proves anything, it just goes to show that, patriarchy, capitalism, however you want to talk about it, is detrimental to both women and men.
Oh
And
yeah.
we got to work together to dismantle it.
Ask gay men about patriarchy, and we got some
Mm-hmm.
things to say.
Oh yeah.
Patriarchy hurts us men as well,
Yeah.
and even straight men. Ask them
Mm-hmm.
about how they're always feeling the pressure of gender roles and all this other BS that we shouldn't be subject to. Patriarchy hurts us as well. It does.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. It does. And it not only, it hurts men emotionally, it hurts them financially, it hurts, there's so many different ways that patriarchy is bad for men. And whenever we talk about things like toxic masculinity, for instance, toxic masculinity isn't a problem with masculinity. Toxic masculinity is a very specific performance of masculinity that is very much related to male insecurity in their masculinity because of the pressures of patriarchy to be a very certain type of man.
Hmm. Oh
And
yeah,
that's what it is. It's
yeah,
just an insecurity and pressure.
yeah. I mean, look, you now have an artist that's openly gay that's making music videos that are making straight cis men uncomfortable, and it's
I love
attacking
Lil
patriarchy.
Nas.
And look,
If you don't love Lil Nas, what's the problem?
look. I haven't really been like into any new artist in years, and he's the
Yeah.
first one that I've actually been paying attention to. And the thing is that this whole issue of men being uncomfortable, it's like, why are you uncomfortable? Why? Because you're now you're afraid to be seen as vulnerable. You're afraid to be seen as weak. With or
Unmanly.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to see men in an effeminate way. What's wrong with
Mm-hmm.
feminism in your eyes for to see a man
Yeah.
behave in that way?
Yeah,
Is
what's
there
wrong with
something wrong with
femininity?
them? What's wrong with femininity? Or is there
Mm-hmm.
something wrong with it to you? So now the questions are starting up and the conversations happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and now it's getting to the point where you have a lot of men starting to come out, and I'm proud of this, that they're very comfortable with who they are. And they're cool with it. And they're like, "Hey, I like that music. It's cool. Call me what you want. Call me when you need." Na, 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 na," You know what I'm saying? And they're cool with it. And now you're starting to see a dichotomy. You're starting to see the very insecure men that want to cling to patriarchy on one side,
Mm-hmm.
and you're seeing the men that are chill. They're like, "Hey, I'm still a guy. I'm still straight. I don't care. You do your thing. I do mine. All right, let's be humans together." And you see them, and now it's like it's revealing a lot. Like last year, the pandemic revealed a lot. Now, you got some artists helping us reveal things about ourselves as humanity that we may need to work through.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting times we're living in.
Yes, very much so.
Hmm.
All right, so let's go on to cover our last story,
Okay.
and that's our good old friend, Amy Coney Barrett. So let me bring up this next article from David Sirota. I love David Sirota. So thankful that he wrote this piece. Are you giving weird faces for Amy Coney Barrett or David Sirota?
David, so he's all right.
All right, so Amy Coney Barrett has come out to say that the Supreme Court aren't partisan hacks.
Oh, they're not, Amy? Really? They're not?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's so cute that she actually thinks that they're not partisan acts. Oh, okay, okay, Amy. Whatever you say to yourself at night before you go to bed. Really? All right.
yeah, so she says, so according to David Sirota, he says, first, the blatant hypocrisy. In an event that seems torn out of the pages of The Onion, Barrett this weekend appeared with the Senate's Republican Minority Leader Mitch McConnell at a celebration of a University of Louisville faculty facility he named after himself. He named a facility after himself at the University of Louisville.
Hack.
Oh my god. After she was introduced by the most partisan Senate leader in American history, Barrett declared that the Supreme Court, which now includes 3 people who worked directly on the Republican campaign to pilfer the 2000 election, is not comprised of a bunch of partisan hacks. If this wasn't absurd enough, Barrett then declared that judges must be hypervigilant to make sure they're not letting personal biases creep into their decisions. Since judges are people too. That demand for ethical vigilance came less than 4 months after Barrett discarded her own past recusal list and opted to participate in the adjudication of a major climate case against Shell Oil, the fossil fuel giant that employed her father for nearly 3 decades. Barrett declined to recuse herself, even though an amicus brief was filed in the case by the American Petroleum Institute, the lobbying group that her father helped steer, and even though one prominent supporter of the case said her father could be subpoenaed for a disposition because of his potential direct knowledge of and operational involvement in how Shell managed climate threats. But no, that's not partisan at all.
Oh no, it's not partisan at all. Oh my goodness, why would anybody think it's partisan just because her father, is, okay. So, look. Maybe we should send her some, psilocybin or something like that so that she can get some more clarity in her head for all these, shit takes about, oh, it's not. It's just, basically, it's just the courts trying to say, oh, we really don't dictate policy. Yes, you do. How many times people, quote or name the different types of court cases, like Roe v. Wade, like that. I mean, we talk about this stuff, politically all the time. And the thing is, judges are political hacks. They're political hacks that aren't voted for. They're appointed, and then they have a lifetime appointments. That's why the courts are so important to both sides of the aisle, especially conservatives. Well, really, they're both conservative parties, but that's why conservative judges are so important to them. Like, you probably wouldn't never see a actual leftist judge who is anti-capitalist in the court system. They wouldn't even exist because nobody would put them in there. They'd be like, no, you stay a lawyer. That's all you're gonna do.
All right, real quick, I just want to thank over on Rockfin, Crone of Anarchy tipped $2. Thank you so much, Crone of Anarchy. And he says, patriarchy is why we have horrible economic system based on competition and domination that cause wars, poverty, and insanity. Thank you, Crone of Anarchy. 100% correct. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Supreme Court judge's dad has major interest in Shell. Yeah. I mean, you can't tell me that the courts aren't influenced by, corporations as well. I mean, yeah.
They 100% are.
Yeah, and then people talk about, oh, we need to repeal Citizens United. I'm like, what about Buckley versus Vallejo? Come on now. Because they were still doing that shit before Citizens United. They just were more bold with it. But Buckley versus Vallejo was part of the beginning of it. And that was back in the 70s. And so, come on. This whole thing is they've been trying to buy off judges for years. And they actually can do it now. And who's to say that her daddy ain't giving her some of the cut?
That's a good point. That's an excellent point. And to go on with that same thing that, of course judges can be 100% corrupt. Like, hello, have we not been following what happened with Steven Donziger? The judge was bought off by, I think it was Exxon. Correct me if I'm wrong. He was bought off by Exxon and was going to prosecute Steve Donziger. The prosecutor, the DA's office, would not prosecute him. So the judge had lawyers who represent Exxon come in order to prosecute Steven Donziger. And we're saying that judges aren't corrupt, that they're not partisan hacks? Like, get off it, Amy Coney Barrett. Like, you are such a partisan hack. You've never even done litigation, and you want to say that you come out saying that you're pro-life. Oh, and someone said that basically the entire reason that she was brought in was to get rid of Roe v. Wade, and that's probably going to come up very shortly. Like, this law from Texas was just to allow them to go forward while they actually hear the case out, and they're going to hear it this fall. But it's very likely that will overturn Roe v. Wade. And honestly, I'm not surprised that this might happen. Because let's be real, Democrats have never actually fought for trying to protect abortion rights. They wanted to keep their hands off because, there are some Democrats who were elected who are pro-life, like, hello, Tim Kaine. And, for those, senators and congresspeople who are Democrats and who are pro-life, or actually anti-choice is what I'll say. I'm not going to say pro-life. Anti-choice. Those members who are anti-choice, they want to protect them because, they're good with, the donors and they want to be able to protect them. So they don't want to make a vote on it in order to actually protect women's rights. So they're just leaving it all up to the courts.
Oh, of course. I mean, look, the conservatives won't be happy until everything goes back to where white people can own me, and then you'll be looked at as a second-class citizen. That's pretty much what it is. And the thing is that people don't realize is that the Democrats are complicit in this transition as well, because they'll think and say, oh, well, we don't like what the Republicans do, and yet you guys still allow them to do what they do, and you guys allow their judges to be appointed and all that bullshit. So guess what? Two right-wing parties trying to bring us back to slavery days, back to but bring us back like 250, 300 years. That's pretty much all it is.
Wait, did I freeze or did you freeze? JB, are you there? Am I the only one seeing that JB's frozen?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
All right. It was buffering. But yeah, so the whole thing about people being, these people saying that they're pro-life. They're not pro-life. They're pro-control, and they're not pro-family. They're they're pro-patriarchy. Really, that's pretty much all they are.
All right. If we have any mods in the chat, can we please have some moderation, please? Because there were a couple trolls in there. So let me see what else is going on. But I mean, it's completely true though. I mean, she's a complete hack. And to say that she's not is ludicrous. Like that's just comedy in my mind.
Yeah. So I can't begin to think that somebody like her is saying that we're not partisan hacks. Like that's why I laugh, because it is laughable. And for people to sit here and think that they're not, yeah, you're delusional in thinking that they're not. And there are even people who are on the left that are calling for the abolishing of the Supreme Court. Or if not that, then like expand the court, far and wide, so that we don't have to, it be limited to just that many people. And then also they should be voted in, as judges. But
Yeah, because it is a completely undemocratic institution.
yeah.
100%. And but again, like the fact that we have a court of unelected people who are making these decisions for us instead of our government actually implementing legislation. It's unconscionable. And the fact that the Democrats have let this go on for as long as it has, and saying like, oh, you know what, if we can use this as a talking point, and we can get people like, oh, the threat of abortion ending, we can use this, like, you need to go out to the polls, vote for Democrats, because we're the only ones who can protect your abortion rights. Except, what have they been doing? They've been sitting on their hands. And just letting Republicans walk all over them.
Yeah.
And just saying, like, you know what, if you vote for us, we'll put in, Supreme Court justices that will protect Roe v. Wade. It's like, you think that, like, the Republicans have been doing that for 40 years now, trying to put in justices who will overturn Roe v. Wade? And they're clearly doing a much better job than y'all are.
Yeah. Look, if they really wanted to fight for these different policies, then it would have been done already. How many times in the last 20 years where we've had a completely democratic presidency, Congress, Congress and House and Senate. We've had these multiple times already, and yet they haven't done anything about it. So it's safe to say that they don't want to do anything about it, and they're complicit. It's called rotating the villain, and this is one of the villains that they want to do. One of the reasons why is because it's part of the grift, and people are, not wising up to it yet. And as soon as people wise up to it, then guess what? They're going to change their language. And I said this on my stream earlier. Watch, 2022, you're going to hear, especially Justice Democrats, use phrases like direct action and mutual aid just so that they can sound more woke. And they'll try to sound more like us. And then they'll start calling themselves leftists, and then we're going to stop calling ourselves leftists, and we're going to start using the word communist. Watch. Because guess what? It's all about co-opting, baby. That's the way they live, and that's what they're going to do. And it's going to happen. And they're going to try to grift off of us even more. Oh, we're not going to be able to do this if we continue to keep the Republicans in power. So vote for us, send us your money, and that's all it's going to be. The grift of it all.
Yeah. So Bill Bradley asks, if you abolish the Supreme Court, who would overturn state laws that violate the Constitution? Like, are they, though? I mean, here's the thing, is that every now and again, like, even, Chief Justice Roberts has said, that there is a role of the Supreme Court that, every now and again you do have to follow along with, social pressures and go along with, how things are changing. And, like Prop 8 in California, which, blocked, gay marriage in California, I believe. I think that's what Prop 8 was. I might be wrong. Yeah, but so every now and again, they do go with public opinion, but that's really only to, it's almost like, giving crumbs or, here's a loaf of bread. Here you go, poor people. Please don't murder us. Please don't eat the rich.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, is to retain their legitimacy.
Yeah.
That's the entire reason why they do it. Because what does actually, allowing gay marriage, how is that a threat to capital? It's not a threat to capital. And that's really what they're there to maintain. They're there to maintain the status quo and maintain capitalism. And so how is, gay marriage opposed to capitalism? It's not. Because now, oh, look, you can put all this money into the wedding industrial complex. You can pay joint taxes. You can buy a house. You can do all the, the performance of, a nuclear family and keep upholding capitalism. Yes, gay marriage, we can, and that's what it's all about, is that it's not a threat to capitalism, that's a new market.
Yep. And it's always going to be on social issues. It's always, you know,
Because if you look at economic issues, workers' rights are constantly being torn apart.
yep.
They'll give
So-
all the corporate power, but hey, as long as gay marriage, that helps capitalism. So
Yeah.
that's okay, as long as the rich can have their tax cuts, as long as corporations have all the control over us anyway.
Yeah, because everybody, yeah, yeah. What type of progress is it to see some rich gays that are billionaires now? You know,
Like, how excited are you about Mayor Pete's baby?
yeah, like just what we need.
You must be
more
so
Mayor
happy
Pete.
about. How excited are you about Mayor Pete's baby? Come on, JB. RJ's probably happier. I can't believe RJ has that book.
Rats have a lot of kids.
Oh no. Oh, God.
Let me tell you something. Yeah,
Like, as a gay man, JB, how excited are you about the representation of Jason and Pete having a baby? How does
Poor
that
kid.
impact your life?
Poor
How does that
kid.
impact your life?
How does it impact my life? Well, I wonder. Yeah, it's all this performative BS. How is Pete and Chastain having a kid going to help me to be able to afford my rent? How is Pete and Chastain having a kid going to help me, be able to have a more universal health care so that I won't be, stuck with the bill from Medicare? How is that going to help all the kids who are being bombed in the global South, in the Middle East, and in parts of Africa? How is that really going to help? The thing is that yes, do we want to have those? Yes, and that's an easy decision, right? Yes, but at the same time, the courts will do that so that they don't have to pay attention to economic issues. Like, no, you should pay attention to the social issues and the economic issues, but they don't want to do that.
Right.
It's always a bait and switch. They just want to pay attention to the social issues so that they can say the hell with the economic issues, and we don't care if gays are still being paid, not being paid a living wage. Well, they can just marry. We'll give them that. No.
Yeah. Exactly
Yeah.
right, Beverly, it's identity politics, and that identity politics, and that doesn't necessarily mean identity politics are bad.
Yeah.
It's just the weaponization of identity politics is deplorable. It is deplorable.
Exactly. And the thing is that it could be used for good, and in some ways it is, but it should have been, used for good as just because it's the right thing to do, not because we want to take attention away from, giving people, a better type of economy that works for all. But that was never the plan,
Yeah.
and so they use us as wedge issues in order to keep identity politics to the fore. Like, for instance,
Yeah.
they will use women all the time. Look what they tried to do with Afghanistan. If we
Oh, you froze again, James.
can you
Yeah,
still
you're
hear me?
back. You're back.
Okay. But it's like, what if we leave Afghanistan? But the women, what about them? We got to stay there, and we got to keep on oppressing these people, because if not, then the women will be oppressed. Even though we're gone, we still need to oppress them here. It's so stupid. They'll use women, they use minorities. Did you guys hear that thunder?
Yep, I heard it. That was
Ooh,
some loud
Lord.
thunder.
Oh,
Oh,
Lord.
goodness gracious.
Oh. Welcome to
Yeah.
Florida, baby.
This is a good point from James Root. Mayor Wine Cave, is going to give his child everything the neoliberal world can offer. Stolen wealth, private schools, bodyguards, insulation from the law if he or she fucks up. Yep. And actually, this is a great point that James brings up, because I've actually heard people compare Mayor Pete's Wine Cave to AOC going to the Met.
Of course.
And, that kind of brings us full circle here. That, honestly, I think that's an apt comparison. That this was AOC's Wine Cave moment.
Yeah, it was.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, I think that's an apt comparison to make. I mean, it was a little different because, she wasn't going there to, raise money from, wealthy billionaires. But the fact that she was there and, trying to perform this little stunt in order to get attention from them and still, lavish in their attention and in their environment, in their presence, and be able to indulge in that wealthy lifestyle and lean in, as I was mentioning before, lean into, that power that she's acquiring. I think it is an apt comparison.
But she did gain their approval. So guess what? They like her now. And wouldn't it be interesting to see next election cycle what type of donations that she get from the people that were at the Met Gala?
I think JB just...
Let's keep a watch out. Get get on opensecrets.org and we'll take a look. And then when that comes back, you and I will come back together and we'll be like, "Ooh, look at this! Oh,
right,
she got it from this person."
It's like, okay, so she has this many smaller dollar donations, but who are her large donors?
Yep.
Who's giving the $2,400? Because even Aurora James, the designer of her tax-rich dress, gave $2,400 to Hillary Clinton.
Independent
FYI.
Left News. I love what he said.
Indy.
She's gonna be co-hosting the View Show. Yes, she will.
Welcome to the neoliberal party.
Yep. And hold up, can we talk about Whoopi Goldberg's dress?
Oh, was Whoopi Goldberg there? Okay, I'll have to look up her dress, that way I can see it.
Oh my Lord! Look, you're gonna see Grimace from from McDonald's when you look at her in that dress.
Oh gosh.
She looks like a big ass napkin.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness. Whoopi Goldberg looks like she's made to wipe up spills in that dress.
Oh my gosh.
The quilting quicker picker upper.
I have no words for this dress. Okay, I'm opening this in my new tab.
Please do.
Oh my god.
Look at it.
I mean, okay, you know me, I'm not for the disparaging of women, but this dress. We're disparaging the dress. We're not disparaging Whoopi, we're disparaging the dress here. Just so we're clear. Like, this
that
dress.
Money she got. She decided to show
God.
up in a muumuu. What the hell?
Okay, guys. I can't decide. That is very Grimace. They seem even Barney because she got the green gloves. She's dressed like Barney.
I thought Ruffles was just a potato chip brand. God damn. Goodness.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is a funny one from Grey Walker. The color purple, which she was in that movie.
Yo, she looks like a fluted cup. All you gotta do is put some cupcake batter in there, and boom, she's a chocolate cupcake.
Oh my god, that like those colors are so Barney.
Oh my goodness.
I
Super
love you.
duper.
You love me.
I love you. You love me. You
Oh
know?
my god.
Yeah, and so it's just like it's
Why
like
would you let somebody do that to you?
the Met Gala is a place where people get to hell. I ain't got no more to say. It's just and let me could you at least have steamed it or ironed it?
Yeah, because it's even wrinkly.
This woman is worth millions.
She couldn't afford a steamer.
Millions. You couldn't have gotten the steamer?
Oh man.
Look, see, this is the thing. These rich people, these wealthy people, they ain't even really got the style that.
Oh my god.
I didn't want to hit on this dress, but we got to have a little fun on because I mean
Yeah.
some of the stuff was some of the subjects were depressing as hell. I mean, they're trying to get money back from people on welfare, and they're trying to wear a junior prom dress with tax the rich written on the back. And then,
Well, police are busting heads outside the Met Gala.
yeah. But there was one young lady who was a protester, and she was doing that protest in platform heels, and I said, "Girl, you go." She did. She was protesting for the people and looking fly at the same time. You go.
That
girl.
I can appreciate. I can appreciate that.
Because she had that bullhorn and she was telling the truth. I was like, yes.
Like, speaking truth and looking fly. I dig it.
Okay, look, Narissa, yes, Little Nas X did look good. I ain't gonna lie, he did.
That armor was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, he was starting to look Tony Starkish.
Ooh, he wasn't Iron Man. He was Gold Man.
Yeah, he was Gold Man. But yeah, I mean, I'm just done with these gaudy displays. You know what things like the Met Gala are? It's just celebrity autofellatio. That's all it is.
It's like patting each other on the back for their wealth and
I love fashion. I love it. But it's gotten to a point where it's just like they're just pleasuring themselves in front of our very eyes and basically saying, haha, you can't do this like us. And that's basically what it feels like. And the thing is that while people are going homeless right now, and people are being evicted.
Heels are terrible for women. Although, funny story is that the ones who initially started wearing heels were actually men. Men wore heels first.
That's because we look damn good in it. I was just kidding.
I may have to look up like the history. I know men wore heels first, and it was like it made you look more dignified to have heels, like to make you look taller and like have your shoulders back, and then eventually women also wore heels, and then men stopped wearing heels, and it became like and they're just torture devices.
We also wore wigs. We wore wigs and silk stockings. Like, come on now. Can you imagine me in a wig and silk stockings? I know you can. I know y'all in the chat look at me like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Bill Bradley says it right. Heels are about height. The taller you are, the higher your perceived status.
Oh, yes. The perceived status. Exactly.
Oh, yes. Yes, the higher the heels, the higher the status.
What's up, you crazy Oh, we done all right. Good to see you in the chat.
Yeah, welcome, Jeremy.
Definitely.
We're in the fun. We've gone past all of the anger-inducing stories. Now we're just having a little bit of fun.
Of course. Troy. Oh, what? Yeah, Troy. He's like, yeah, I look at you like that, JB. Oh, okay. All right. I see you. All right.
Yeah, powdered wig. Yeah, Whipple Dingle Weedle Puffin.
Oh, I love
Powdered
that
wigs
name.
and rouge. They wore rouge too.
Oh yeah, Whipple Dingle Weeble Puffin. Good to see you.
This is actually true, Bill. Like you notice that because whenever women are tall, like whenever you're tall as a woman, either and this is definitely depends on race, I think, as well. Because if you're like tall and slim, then it's like, oh, you must be a model. Oh, are you a model? Girl, you're lean. You are tall. You'd be walking that runway. But
Girl,
if you're
you
like,
are a tall drink of water. What is up with all this?
yeah,
Honey,
but if
you look
you're
fire. I am burnt. I am turned. Yeah.
But then, of course, if you're tall and maybe a little bit on the broader side, it's like, do you play basketball?
Yeah.
I feel like that's true for men too, particularly men of color. It's like, if you're tall and you're black, it's like, do you play basketball?
It's like, no, I sumo wrestle. Gosh. Yeah.
So many stereotypes, all the stereotypes. But it is true though. If you're a woman and you're tall, there is a tall privilege that you get, particularly if you're pretty. It is like a tall, pretty privilege, and like. But I feel like if you are too tall, this is one of those double standards for women. If you're too tall, then it's like counts against you.
Oh, it's the same thing with men when it comes to being short. And I love short dudes. Look, pocket gays, come to me. I love y'all. Hey. But the problem is that, especially with a lot of straight men, if they are shorter, they're being perceived as less than, which is absolutely, bull pie. And I'm trying to watch my language. And so I feel bad because
this is true. A 6'6" horse jockey is not common.
Yeah.
You have to be short and nimble in order to be a horse jockey.
But how many women out there are actually cool with short guys, but they're not really talked about as being, hot and sexy because they're shorter, and the thing is, there are some hot short guys out there. And most of the guys who are famous out there that people watch on like TV and movies,
they're like
and stuff,
5'6", 5'7".
Short.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that I think the whole tall guy thing, tall being sexy thing, is actually a bit of a patriarchal construct. That just because a guy is tall, that means it makes him better. Not necessarily. So I think we need to have more love out there for short guys, and tall women.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, so Yebax asks, can I send in content to FHL as topics of discussion? Yeah, go to our Discord. Go to our Discord, and there are, under each of our channels, or under each of our shows, there's a way that you can, I think there's a way that you can submit topics of discussion to any one of us that you want us to talk about. Whether it's me, if it's JB's show, RJ's show, Nick's show, just go to our Discord and put it in there.
Yeah, I think the Discord link is in our Ko-fi.
I think so.
Yeah, in the Ko-fi. So we have that as well. Hey, I'm 5'6". Cool, awesome.
If 5'6" is a good height for women. That's a good average height for women. I'm 5'4". I'm kind of on the shorter side. But like my aunt, like one of my aunts, like his height, the women on my dad's side of the family tend to be shorter. And one of my aunts, she's only like 4'10".
Wow.
And she is short.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy who was 5 foot even, and so he's pretty short for a guy, but he's a sweet guy, and of course, short guys who are gay don't have that as much of an issue with getting attention, but for straight guys, it's tough, because a lot of women, the first question they'll ask is, how tall are you? You know what I mean? And so it's just like, That's something that they can't control.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
you
I'll
know,
admit, I tend to, when it comes to dating, I tend to want the guy I'm dating to be taller than me.
of
Like
course.
there was a guy that I met on I can't remember if it was Bumble or Tinder, and we got along great on text. Then whenever I met him, he was like maybe a little bit shorter than me, maybe the same height. And I was kind of like, I don't know, but I mean, we just didn't click. But I think that was part of like, because based on his pictures, I thought he would be taller, and I was just like, I don't know if I want to date a guy who's as short as I am. And
Yeah.
like that's
I
just
mean,
like honestly that's just that I'm sure that's wrong of me, but that's just my preference. I like guys to be a little bit taller than me.
it's not necessarily anything that's wrong.
Mhm.
It's just I think there's an overtly focus on it for guys as far as being tall or not in our
Mhm.
media.
Yeah.
And I think if they started displaying in media short guys as being sexy as well,
Mhm.
then I think that the societal uh, thought or thought process on it
Mhm.
or mentality of it will actually start to shift. I I just think that it's just like with Eurocentric
Mhm.
features. Eurocentric features are always considered to be more beautiful, when it comes to our society. But if we got to a point where no particular features were considered more beautiful than the other, then
Mhm.
I think that other features will be considered, just as beautiful, and that would change public perception. So I think it's just,
Yeah.
public. It's a public perception thing partly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
Which
And everybody's free to
yeah.
have their preferences in some ways. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually like my mom is actually taller. She's taller than my dad by like maybe an inch.
Hmm.
But my mom is like very tall. Like she's like 5'8", 5'9".
Hmm.
So my dad is I think is 5'8" or 5'7".
Hmm.
And my brother's wife was, I'm saying was because they got divorced last year, or
Okay.
yeah, last year. Um, but she was a little bit taller than him too. She couldn't wear heels to their wedding. But 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 again, it's like it's not necessarily bad for guys to be shorter than their girlfriends or their wives or whatever. I'm not saying that at all because like obviously I've seen it in my own family. It's just like that's my own preference.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody.
It's just like my sister is really into Latin guys. I don't like, like she is very into Latin guys. Like every single guy that like she very
Mhm.
rarely dates white guys. She's very much into Latin guys. And I was like, Melanie, you have a type.
Oh yeah. My type is man.
Prince was 5'2".
Yeah. Oh, Prince was fine as
Wow.
hell. Prince was fine as hell too.
That
Um.
is true. Yeah, Prince was a good looking man.
Yeah. And so. Uh. Women wanted him with or without heels. Trust me.
That is
So.
true. I mean, that is one thing. Like musicians, they tend to get a pass.
Oh.
It is true. Like
But
being a musician and having that type of power. Oh yeah, doesn't matter. Like short, tall, doesn't matter. You will have women being. They will throw themselves at you. There's something about
yeah.
musicians.
But it's
It
like,
is.
but it's
Yeah.
like, what is it about musicians? How is in the world can they circumvent that while still being short?
Mhm.
And it's like, how does that work? So it starts to
Mhm.
make you think about, the construct I was talking about. That there's an overemphasis in media for men to be tall. It's even in the old phrase, tall, dark, and handsome. You
Mhm.
know, it's like, why does he have to be tall?
Yeah, that's true. And someone else made a good point that Popeye was shorter than olive oil. That's also true, Holly.
Yeah.
Popeye was shorter than olive oil.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, it's just I think part of it is a
Mhm.
part of it's a construct. It also could be biology. I mean, the way our minds are wired could be
This is a good
possibly.
point. Very nice, YepX. I'm into women that are consenting and of age. I appreciate that. Yes, consent and of age. Those are important things.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm the same way with guys.
And Ursa says, married a guitar player. I can tell you stories, JB.
Oh, I'm looking at what Namor said. I'm sorry. Hey,
Okay.
any person with any height can have cake. Stack cups on that thing. No. So see what you got me into, Meg.
Oh, goodness.
You're always getting me into trouble. Oh my goodness.
I'm not here to actually kill joy. Like, our joy, we can definitely, we need to embrace joy very often. The only joy I enjoy killing is the joy that is built on other people's oppression. That's the joy I like killing.
I like that too. I like the way you put that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Alright, we only have a few minutes left, JB, so what do you want to plug tonight?
Well, my computer's already plugged in, so. To be honest with you, I have to set up a interview for next week. Part of me was thinking about taking a break because I've never not done my show. So I was thinking about that, but I probably won't. But stay tuned for the oh my goodness. Stay tuned for the roundtable this Thursday. My brain just went off. Maybe those edibles are kicking in again. I don't know, but
you had fun with those edibles the other night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry about
check
that.
Out our, definitely go check out our 10,000 subscribers celebration. That was a good night.
Lord, you're about to see a different side of me. Woo! I was on, or like Sabby says, I was on.
Yes, you were on. Yeah.
I was on. So yeah. But
yes, Gene, I have seen Judas and the Black Messiah. Definitely recommend it.
Oh yeah, it was good. I like that.
That was a good movie.
It was really good. Wait, what if you're dating Faithful from mythology with women being no larger than a foot or so, depending on the Fae race?
Those are very tiny women. Very tiny.
No. I don't know.
We're not messing with Tinkerbell over here.
Nope. Yeah, I don't. And plus, even if Tinkerbell was my size, I wouldn't tinker with Tinkerbell.
She mad. She get mad.
No, that's just for obvious reasons. You know what I mean? So, no. Now, if she had a brother.
Hey, there you go. No tinker.
Well,
all the tinker, no bell.
Yeah.
All the tinker, no bell.
Especially if he had a nice beard. Never mind. I'm not gonna. No.
Oh,
JB, shut up.
For the
I'm
next show, JB. We're out of here.
Woo! Nope. I'm not going there. I ain't talking about if he looked like Seth Green, all with red hair and nice beard.
Oh goodness. Okay. Well, I need to cut you off now.
I had a couple edibles before the show. Can you tell?
A little bit. They're starting to kick in.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, Twinkerbell. That's funny.
Yes. Somebody's been watching some movies.
That's funny. All right, so guys, tomorrow night, check in with Nerdolitics. That's at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be talking What If, and also talking about Zeitgeist, because we've had some people recommend that we watch the Zeitgeist documentary and talk about it. So we're going to talk about it tomorrow on the show. And then Tuesday, I have a new interview with Jessica Crispin going on my channel. So definitely check that out. That was supposed to go up last week, but I kind of slacked. I'm not going to lie. I was slacking. Big time. So that's going to go up on Tuesday on my channel. So definitely check that out. Make sure to support FHL. Go to our Ko-fi and support the channel. Go to my website and you can see how to support my show directly. And I'm building out a page with reading recommendations, so you guys can check that out too, since you guys are always asking me what books I'm reading. So you love I love a good book and a good reading recommendation. JB, you're saying something funny.
Everybody's talking about how thirsty I am.
It is true.
Oh,
all right, so we're gonna get out of here so JB can go hit the apps.
Yeah,
since he's clearly thirsty over here.
I'm gonna be swiping right tonight.
All right, guys. With all that being said, love and solidarity. This has been the Killjoy Guide, the Left Feminist podcast with Killjoy Meg and JB from the JB Show, and we'll see you Killjoys next time. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you never miss another video. See you Killjoys next time.